Well, because we spoke about it a couple of times now, and it's hitting engineering firms specifically. The war for talent and the shortage of infrastructure professionals, engineers, architects, urban planners. It'll be interesting to hear someone talking to us from a university because they are educating these people that, your companies, cities that we all need here. So let me introduce Zoltan Nagy from the university in Austin. And he will bring another perspective to this from a research and education. So I'm happy that you are here, Zoltan.
Nice to be here.
And you are leading the Intelligent Environments Lab at the University of Texas at Austin. And you have used our software. You can see the example behind us here on the wall to build a campus digital twin of the university. And there, mainly energy scenarios are an important element. Energy consumption and energy transition of cities is a global concern, right? So what does your research indicate here?
Yeah, I think, so the reason we build these, I think that's because one of the use cases of digital twins that haven't been mentioned yet is what happens in the future. And so, right, we can look at data that we have, we can visualize it, it's great, we can look at live data, but what we cannot do yet, or what we should be able to do, is what happens in 10 years, in 20 years, when the climate will not be what it is today, and we need to build that infrastructure, right? So when we build the storm drains, as an example, do we build it like we used to build, or do we build it for, increased rain? Right, now my work's mostly on energy. So I look at energy and what happens when the climate becomes warmer. We looked at the campus because that's easy to get data from. So what we see is that, oh my God, like 20% energy increase just because the climate gets warmer in the next 15 years. And that's, show it to the people who run energy systems, like, uh-oh, we need a new power plant, right? So that it's kind of like serious. How quickly things will escalate just due to climate, and that's only the energy use, right? So that was very surprising. Yeah.
You have some other use cases embedded in this campus. Can you mention some others?
So not in this particular campus, but we did work on the city scale where we have some data available, and so one of the interesting questions is not that we know that it's going to be sort of bad. What can we do, and how do these interventions, stack up against each other? So we looked at, what if we put solar panels everywhere? What if we make better housing? What if we, house people in medium high-rise building versus spreading it out? And how does these, stack up? And again, the interesting thing is, everything works sort of, but the rate of, how fast we can reduce emissions is significantly different. Depending on what path we choose. And that's actually quite scary, because you actually have a big lever, and if you pick the wrong one, you can even be on a nice path going down, but in 20 years it will pick up again. Mm-hmm. And that's really needs to be studied a little bit more, because you don't want to pick the wrong path.
Correct. So you're using this as a decision support tool, right? You're comparing scenarios, a very popular application of digital twins.
Right.
Well, who could make better decisions with your model here, for example?
Yeah, I think it's cities like Dublin, or we now finally have a sustainability office that also thinks about this a little bit. Energy was not always a big thing, just because it's there and it's cheap. But you can easily translate, impacts of climate change and power outages into how will people get impacted? Yeah. People will die. We're reaching conditions of human livability at certain areas, faster in Texas than here, but in Europe, houses are not built to withstand heat waves, and so people will die. And so seeing when it will happen, looking forward, and then addressing it, and working on how we can address it. It's the people that make decisions in the city halls. Mm-hmm. Policymakers. Engineers will show you the numbers, right? But policymakers need to make the decisions. We cannot make those.
Well, coming back to my introductory statement when I asked you to come up here, we're looking at the requirements for new skills for people who work in infrastructure. And I was thinking, could this urban digital twin be part of your curriculum, right? Could you educate and train students, making them ready kind of for a career at Jacobs, at Foth, or in a city administration? Are you using this already? No?
Yeah, I was just telling earlier that one of my students got hired by Jacobs. So I think we're doing something right in that sense. But what I think is that we're doing it too late. So on a graduate level, this is what we do, right? Mm-hmm. But what we have to do is start infusing digital skills. And again, I don't know if it has to be digital twins per se, but it needs to be digital skills, right? We need to be able to work with data. How does the data, where does it get generated? What are the issues that arise? It's almost like a literacy skill. Like it can already start in high school, like middle school. Like there's no need to wait until you get a PhD, right? Like it's not a lot different. When I look at my kids, they talk to Siri like it's their friend. There is an opportunity there to start with digital twins and digital literacy through kindergarten, grade school, and middle school, and then you're ready for the cool stuff, right? And what in 15 years we still call it digital twins or not, I don't know, but the skills will be needed. Mm-hmm. But another thing that comes here across and that has not been mentioned is that we do need the technical skills, the new skills on digital. We still need the domain skills because that's not going away. Yeah. Plus, since we're talking about integrating different domains, we need communication skills much more than we used to, I think. And that's actually a bigger one because all the city office that used to be in silos, they need to be at the table now, and they need to understand each other. And so that's probably an even bigger need at some point.
Very good point. Probably you're just designing a new curriculum, right? A new bachelor or master's study.
Yeah, so I think a lot of schools go through this because AI is everywhere, and so we're all like, oh, we need to do AI to just remain relevant in some sense, right? And so we're rethinking these curricula. I added things on, how do buildings perform within a grid? Like that's a whole new thing that nobody thinks about yet. And so these skills are not going away, and so I wish we could do it earlier, a lot earlier. Then we need to talk to the ABAT board, and that's a whole.
But such an offering, Zoltan, could even help us to have more students, again, going back to Mint, right? I think we have a dip there, and this would be, very interesting, right?
I think it's similar to what Jamie said earlier, right? Like if you show a chart and it's data going up and down, it's a scatter plot. It's like, come on, it's boring. Yeah. But now you show a city and you can zoom in and it looks like Roblox and Minecraft. That's a whole other thing, right? Mm-hmm. The cesium chart earlier had Roblox and Minecraft on it, but that's the thing you want. My 5-year-old is building houses in Minecraft. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, here's the next guy. Like, how do we get this pipeline going? To here where it matters, I think, and that's it doesn't need to wait until university.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned a key word, and we had this in the keynote today. We had a double down on this, which was artificial intelligence, AI, and want to come back to one of these statements that we heard that that will help specifically engineers, architects, and firms like Jacobs and the Foth to do more with less. We have demonstrated what we can do with OpenSat Plus, right? And you were sitting next to me. I think that was stunning, that demonstration there, Jerry. How urgently do you need this in your company today, seeing the workload is piling up? On the other end, you have challenges to get the right people into the company.
Yeah, when you look at the resource availability and the infrastructure demands, kind of the first step for us was globalization. Right, that was the first thing. Is how do we create a global workforce to attack, to solve some of the bandwidth issues